Hello, and today we'll be playing the newest update of Celta. So this will continue Alon's tragic backstory. Meant to play this sooner, but there were a lot of other VNs that got new updates, so I covered those first before getting to this one. So I'll go ahead and continue with Alon's backstory. The West now manifesting as an unbreakable magic between us. I was to be kidnapped. Right away. What? Are you there, sir? Can you hear me? Quick, we have to. I turned to the rat to hurry him up, but he wasn't there anymore. I turned my attention away for merely a short glance. He still managed to escape my sight. The string bound in my wrist rose towards the ceiling. Before I could even prop up, the face of a pencil servant poked out from the secret passage. He sighed in great relief when our eyes met. Oh, thank goodness. You have given us quite the scare. It is fine. You can go back upstairs. I'll join you in a moment. Oh, that shall not do. This is not a proper place for someone of your station. You need a proper refreshment and rest. We have been keeping your bubble bath both hot and bubbly for the past 2 hours. Just like you enjoy it most, you admit. The moment the smiling, tail-wagging pincers approached me within a arm's reach, the rat dropped to the ceiling and hit the back of his head with his heel, making the poor dog's eyes roll back. He grabbed the pincer's limp body before it could fall to the ground, gently laying it on the floor. The whole maneuver didn't cause any more noise than a quiet clap. This one was an adult dog, right? Yes, he was quite old. Okay. Is he dead? No, I don't think so. Also, it's like in New Moon's Adventures. You make him take a nap with a bap on the head, and he will wake up all fine around the time we leave the castle. What? No. Do you realize how serious a concussion can be? He's not going to feel that good when he wakes up, I'll tell you that. That is, if he wakes up at all. I wasn't aiming to kill, but it's always a roll or die. Especially if he had some pre-existing conditions I couldn't possibly know about. Oh. Yeah. Oh, look, he's fine. The rat sighed and groaned as he gagged and bound a small dog servant with the same rags and ropes he initially tried to use on me earlier. Once he got the pincer all muffled and secured, he tossed him behind the food crates in the corner where he wouldn't be found that easily. They will surely send another servant once this one takes too long to come back. We have to hurry up and... While I was still picking up my book from the floor, the rat walked outside the storage room without a word, pulling me behind him by the magic string. He didn't stop or slow down even as I stumbled and bumped against walls and wooden crates. He just stormed forward through the dark rooms, completely ignoring me. Hey, slow down, I can't, Even when I fall, he didn't stop to look back at me. He just dragged me over the floor as the tiny precious gems popped off my custom-sewn attire. I failed to scramble back on my feet with the invisible magic force still moving me forward, and I didn't stop until my face hit against a closed wooden door. He was trying to leave without me. Maybe he was trying to snap the magic string by pulling against the closed door. However, that wouldn't work. My wrist ached, pressed painfully against the hard wood. I barely held onto my book. Okay, that won't do. Stop, stop, out. What are you doing? Trying to leave you behind, but of course I can't. So set your trap, hurry up, and follow. You're slow. I'm doing what I can. No need to be so rude. I yelped as the door suddenly swung open and slammed against my face. Excuse me, sire. I couldn't hear you. Care to say that again? He let out a quiet whine as he sucked an angry breath of air through his flaring nostrils, gritting his long incisors, staring down at me in open disdain. Listen, you little shit. I showed you mercy because I don't hurt children, but you're making me reconsider. I mean, I did you a solid, and how you repay me, while forcing some kind of bloody bonding magic on me. I was out of options. I need help. This is not how you ask for help. This isn't. Yeah, whatever. Words are wasted on the likes of you, canine lords. I know you all too well. You're so proud of living by your canine unity, but that's nothing but a culture of extortion masqueraded as a virtue. You may still be young and ignorant, but there's no way you won't end up rotten exactly like every other one of your kind. You're just like them. There's no honor in your unity. I don't want any part in this. Neither do I. Let me go. You will find neither a friend nor a savior in me. I can't. Can't or won't. You knew how to cast it, so you must know how to break it too. What kind of spell is this anyway? It's my own. Your own? An ember? No, it's nothing like that. Of course not. You aren't a hero. Someone like you would never reach a blaze to craft one in the first place. Well, I did, actually. I went ablaze on someone last month. Bullshit. Whatever it is, get it off me. I won't ask again. I can't. I don't want to. He unsheathed his dagger, staring at me with quiet, calculating anger. I wasn't sure if he only tried to intimidate me or if he actually considered doing something drastic, like cutting my hand off. Big parts of his mind and emotional spectrum were still unclear in my empathy. But I knew that, despite my actions being drastic and selfish, I didn't have a choice either way. He was a ray of hope I couldn't just let go of, because there was nothing left for me to latch on to. You came here unnoticed. You know your way around the castle. You can just bring us both out. You can do that, right? I promise I won't make a noise. I promise I'll listen to anything you say. I promise I'll break the spell as soon as we're out of the city, and then you'll never see me again. A promise of a wolf doesn't mean rat's ass. Then strike me. The string will break if I'm dead. Don't push your luck. I have no choice. I wouldn't cling on to a stranger if I had anyone else to ask for help. But I don't. Even surrounded by servants and guards, I am well alone. He kept staring at me in silence. His eyes slowly trailed towards his reflection in the blade, weighing his options. Finally he scoffed, seizing the dagger and turning his back towards me before walking away. I didn't really see signs of sympathy on his face or in his gestures. It felt more like he was simply tired of wasting his breath. Whatever was going on in his head, I was glad he took it so well. A few steps later, he pulled me up by the red magic string, and I quickly trotted behind him, my book still tightly in his grasp. I was so overfilled with emotions, I wasn't sure if I was relieved, exhilarated, guilty, or something else altogether. So, while my heart and mind were busy figuring that out, my tongue decided to take advantage of that confusion with its own agency. Curiosity. Hey, what's your name? You're still talking. You have a name, right? Doesn't matter. Shut up. How should I address you then? Don't. The less you speak, the better. It's good to make friends, you know. I have no friends, not anymore. Only regrets, responsibilities. 33 young lives that depend on me. You are more than an extra piece of extremely annoying cargo and a liability. Oh, wait. In case you were curious about me, my name is. Suddenly he grabbed me by the snout and spun me around, hiding me under his trench coat while retracting to a hidden nook in the wall. I was so distracted I didn't even realize the guard was coming our way. His heavy armor clunked dully with each step. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Doing what? Never mind. Continue. I poked my head out to look at the guard, but I only managed to take a short glance at his tall, fully armored giant figure before the rat forcefully tugged me back under his smoke-smelling coat. We waited in silence with his hand wrapped tightly around my snout while the heavy stomps drew closer between us. The guard was fully encased in shiny metal armor, helmet and all. With protection like that, my kidnapper couldn't just drop kick him unconscious like it did with the little pincher. So we waited in the saddles for him to pass us. The faint scent of smoke numbed our presence. The canine noses. Never mind. Continue. I poked my head out to look at the guard, but I only managed to take a short glance at his tall, fully armored giant figure. Before the rat forcefully tugged me back under his smoke-smelling coat. We waited in silence with his hand wrapped tightly around my snout while the heavy stomps drew closer towards us. The guard was fully encased in shiny metal armor, helmet and all. With protection like that, my kidnapper couldn't just drop kick him unconscious like it did with the little pincher. So we waited in the saddles for him to pass us. The faint scent of smoke numbed our presence, the canine noses. However, as I was held forcefully under the rat's coat, something hard pressed against my cheek. A dagger, multiple blades, and other intricate tools. I felt drawn to it. I reached my finger towards one of its shining edges. It was surprised to find how it sank into my pink bean with almost no resistance. A muffled yelp escaped between my teeth, and I nearly dropped my book. Ah. The rat's grip strengthened. He himself tensed up like a bowstring, observing the canine guard, now standing just a few steps away from us. The dog looked around, alarmed by the mysterious sound. He tried to peer through the darkness, but the rat kept perfectly still, blending us with the saddles. After noticing nothing out of the ordinary, the guard scratched his metal helmet in confusion. Must have been the wind, and continued walking. I almost audibly sighed in relief, but the rat already predicted that, plugging my nostrils with fingers of the free hand that was already holding my muzzle. We held our breaths, waiting for the guard to walk away. I remembered I didn't close the door to the kitchen section, so I wondered if he would go in there to investigate, giving us a chance to escape. The issue of the mysterious food thief has been a thorn in their side for months already. So will he call more guards to this section of the castle? We had a lot of distinguished guests from all across the country and from abroad, so I doubted they would make too much commotion over some stolen bread. Objectively, it was a serious breach of the castle's security, but I have assumed they would prefer to avoid sounding an alarm. If possible, it would be a very bad look to make a scene out on that night in particular. It will be fine, I reassure myself. It would be fine, I reassure myself. It was just bread, right? The guard stopped, noticing something on the floor. He picked it up and looked at it. It was something tiny. It shined in the moonlight like a sword of a star. He sniffed it, and my eyes widened at the same time as his own when I realized what it was. It was one of the many precious gems that loosened up and fell off my clothes after being dragged over the floor earlier. My smell must have still lingered on it. Oh. He sniffed towards the kitchen, then more towards us. Moonlight reflected in his eyes from behind the grating in the helmet as he stared right at us skulking in the saddles. He carefully stepped closer, sniffing the air. He stared exactly in our direction. Suddenly, in the middle of his next step, the rat pushed me away and jumped right at the guard, dagger in hand. The dog couldn't have possibly avoided a surprise like a surprise strike like that. It came out of nowhere like a shot of an arrow, right at the moment his ironclad foot was still in the middle of falling down a step. A slow, fully armored dog had absolutely no chance at reacting to a perfectly executed maneuver like that. Well, at least it couldn't if the magic string didn't get in the rat's way. Right before he could plunge the dagger in the cracks between the guard's armor, the length of the magic bond between us stretched to its limits, and made both of us fall and roll over the castle's marble floor, right in front of the confused canine. The book of New Moon's stories slipped from my grasp and fell down with a dull thud. He looked at the rat, his eyes widened. He looked at me, his mouth hung open with a gasp. He immediately drew still, slashing the rat between his shoulder blades before he could dodge away. I could hear him muffling a pain groan in his chest. Another slash went upwards at the luminous string, but the blade only slipped alongside it, jerking the rat's and my wrist forward. Before the string could even slip off with the tip of the sword, the dog was already in front of me, guarding me from the rat. As competent as he is, the guard understood he couldn't deal with that invasion and that magic on his own. He took a breath to call for the pack. But the hound didn't come. The rat tossed something right at his helmet, making the dog choke in a sudden, short-lived cloud of dust. The armor-clad giant covered me with his own body while wheezing for air, struggling in vain to let out a howl. He stumbled around, desperately trying to stay conscious, but ultimately collapsing by the wall, only his legs peeking out from the darkness. His dull metallic thud echoed through the long corridor. The rat's dust smelled like herbs, pollen, or something. Damn it. Are you okay? He cut me. There was smell of blood. He took out a little bag of another powder from under his coat. He puffed it into the air, and then struck a flint against his dagger. It ignited a half translucent cloud with a single sparkle. It puffed into black smoke, slowly dispersing into nothingness, leaving a vague, dull scent behind that mess with my nose even stronger than his cigarette. The guard. Help me stick him up. A great effort, we pushed and pulled at the guard's heavy, fully armored body, resting his back against the wall, right by the entrance to the kitchen. But my partner and I gasped in exhaustion. Within a few moments, he found the clasp and fastenings of the guard's helmet, taking it off his head with a bit of a struggle. I recognized the guard as Jake, one of the nicer, more well-behaved dogs. Then he did something I hadn't seen since that time we traveled to the observer's hideout with Gunner. He plunged his hands into the solid stone and pulled something out. A bottle of wine, which pried open a couple of twists. The rat grabbed Jake by the throat, pushing it open in a particularly forceful way, pouring half a bottle straight into his stomach. He then put the glass down by his side, spilling some of the wine on the marble. He also grabbed his sword and dipped it in the stone, magical way, in the stone the same magical way, and when he pulled it out, there was no more blood on it. I could hear more heavy steps coming our way from the direction we were originally planning to follow. We made sure that whoever found him would assume he got drunk on stolen wine, regardless of how unfair it was to a good boy like Jake. Let's scram. While my rodent companion collected all the loose gems in the immediate vicinity, I went back for my book just as I reached it and picked it up off the floor. The string pulled me away. We ran down the moonlit corridor and then up the stairs right before the newcomers could spot us. We maneuvered through the corridors, the moon, and the dozens of royal lupine portraits on the walls being the sole witness of our skulking. We need to keep it that way. My character was much more observant than me. He changed our course of escape multiple times, long before I could hear any other steps or voices. Suddenly, he jumped back and grabbed me by the scruff, dragging us to one of the many dark storage rooms. With his hand over my muzzle, in complete silence, I listened as a couple of pairs of feet walked down the corridor and past our doors. He let go of me. Only once we were back in complete silence. Okay, this place would do. I saw a brief glow of magic as he pulled an oil lamp out of the floor. However, even before he could strike his flint, I could smell something suspicious. I did not think we were alone. While the flame illuminated the closet, we looked at the source of the yelp from the corner. The two sought pairs of eyes, a burly Great Dane dog embracing a Komodo dragon tightly from behind. Both of them completely naked and at a loss for words. Oh, bloody, don't look. With my eyes covered by the rat's hand, I heard him throwing something at the surprised couple and making them cough and gasp for air. He covered my mouth too, so I wouldn't inhale the sleep dust. Keep your eyes on the door, he hissed, while he went on to gag and bind them the same way he did with the pencil earlier. By the time he came back, I glanced at them, still in full body contact, but covered with a linen seat for decency. Or maybe not so much for their decency, but rather for the sake of my innocence. Sorry to interject, but did you see what the dragon was packing? No, it was a messy room. I didn't have a good look. The Great Dane was nodded to him, though. Probably. But I was just curious because I heard saurians have two penises. I always wonder if that's true. Is that really at the forefront of your mind right now? That's what I'm thinking. Not all saurians do, but yes, Komodo dragons indeed have two C's, Luke. They often use them in alternation. And no, Wound, I did not copulate with one myself. I know all of that from studies, autopsies, and from experimentation on living ones. I didn't fucking ask. Oh. Forgive me, it was a reflex. A reflex? The water's too hot. I'll go cool down. Wound, what the heck? You're bleeding. Crap, you still have Alon's dagger. stuck to your hand. Why didn't you say something? Come here, I can remove it. Oh, thanks. Go ahead and continue your story. Seems all of you will have a good time. Wound. I'm sorry for my comments, truly. I did not mean to offend you. No, it's fine. I wasn't enjoying any of this anyway. You can finish without me. Wound, please sit down. Let me take care of your hand and tell me what's wrong. Seriously? Do you really have to ask what's wrong? He snarls, making us jump away in surprise. However, he quickly quiets down, shaking his head in embarrassment. The husky stands on the cold floor, water dripping at his feet, forming a wide, steaming puddle. He turns his head towards us without looking at anyone in particular. He sighs and his stare finally falls on the water, at Alon's reflection in it. Where you managed to steal back your freedom so early in your life, even if you decide to trample over everyone on your path to do it. I don't think I would fall so low myself, but hey, he would know, but we won't know for sure since I was never given a chance in the first place. Who knows, maybe I would actually betray you myself if you didn't do that to me first. After all, the observers told you I did that every time for some reason. I wonder if Rudy was alive in those other futures. William turns around and walks out of the room with a set of short barbed spikes piercing through his clenched hand. The steps grow distant as he disappears through the darkness in the unlit corridor. A silence lingers among us uncomfortably. Alon just stares to the side, his expression unchanging. Will he be able to remove it? Not without a free hand. So I go help him? A loud thud reverberates through the corridor, followed by a distant, furious snarl. We listen for a moment as the silence falls back down on us like a suffocating heavy blanket. I can faintly hear the sharp sound of the automatic doors being opened and closed at the very distant end of the corridor. I think he needs a moment. Yeah. The steps grow distant as he disappears through the darkness in the unlit corridor. A silence lingers among us uncomfortably. Alon just stares to the side, his expression unchanging. Will he be able to remove it? Not without a free hand. So I go help him? A loud thud reverberates through the corridor, followed by a distant, furious snarl. We listen for a moment as the silence falls back down on us like a suffocating heavy blanket. I can faintly hear the sharp sound of the automatic doors being opened and closed at the very distant end of the corridor. I think he needs a moment. Yeah. I nod in agreement. They're right. You feel down and are tired of people. Sometimes it's a good thing to take a moment for yourself. To calm down. To mull it over. To bottle and repress it. Just like I've been doing it all this time. Alone. No, that's wrong. Huh? What's wrong, Luke? Wait, what? You're mumbling to yourself. Am I? Sorry, never mind. I got distracted. Please continue. Are you sure? What about the husky? If William isn't back by the end of your story, we'll all go look for him. As you wish. Where was I? Alright. In the cleanup room, my kidnapper and I were sitting by the light of the oil lamp with the two unconscious men hugging in the corner. I finally heard the rat speak. We have to lay low for a while. Lay low? What if they find a cellar and sound an alarm? They won't, not tonight. But they'll go looking for me. Then they will do it discreetly. If we have to make sure we are discreet too. But You want to get out of here or not? Trust me or not. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Now take your clothes off. What? Why? We won't be able to slip out of here if everyone see you sparkling in the moonlight from miles away. Alright. I stood up immediately and spread my arms. I waited. He stared at me, tilting his head in confusion. What are you doing? Waiting for you to change my clothes. What? Why? Are you a fucking toddler? No, but my servants always, never mind. Confused and slightly offended, I started changing in after removing my boots, vest, coat, trousers, decorative sash belts, and golden thread ropes. I stood in front of him in nothing but my underpants. A white linen shirt, a soft silk undershirt, a pair of breeches, underpants, stockings with snugly fit garters, and a custom-fit tail-based support band. I felt so exposed and embarrassed in front of him, but to me it was a small price for the promise of freedom. He held my clothes in his hands, rubbing the material in amazement. Bloody hell, how rich is your clan? Pretty rich. Those aren't just some cheap stones. You have rubies mixed with canine minor crystals, sapphires mixed with sodium. I can see colors in them. I've literally never seen them this saturated. Oh, and you even have a few green ones mixed in too. His amazement cooled down into visible discomfort after seeing that. He plucked out a few crystals of each color and stared at them for a moment as they reflected the lamp's warm light on his open hand. What a sick clan, wearing people's hopes and dreams on their clothes. He picked 2 tiny gems from the handful and put the rest of them into one of the inner pockets in his coat. The couple of gems still between his fingers vaguely reflected the symbol of yellow and blue. They seemed to pulse as he took a deep breath. Let's set them free. In a hard freeze, he pulverized the gems between his claws into fine, glass-like dust. Then it spread around like a glowing snowy mist as he whispered something under his nose. I was having issues focusing my vision. There was barely any movement in the room, but it was like the shadows around us lagged and sped, distorted by magic. While both light and shadow reflected in greater contrast over the rat's eyes and fur tinted in a blue hue. Green hue. He rose his hand, pressing 2 of his fingers together, not unlike the observer did for his magic. With the rat, however, that gesture didn't feel threatening. There was a certain feeling of comfort growing in the air. Golden arch. Shelter. The flame of the lamp continued to flow through the still air of the messy room. However, it felt different. It felt slow. I stared at the little flame, mesmerized by the pulsing, flowing patterns. The glow, the radiance, it flew like a vicious yet short-lived mist, bending against my fingers. The room itself didn't get any darker or brighter. The light, even when pinched or fanned with my hand, didn't reflect into separate colors either. Out of curiosity, I grabbed a piece of rubber off the floor and tossed it into the air. A moment after it left my hand, the metal buckle slowed down, rising through the air like it was wading through water. When I touched it with my finger, it sped up once again for just a short instance before slowing down again just a few inches away from my claws. I looked around in awe, observing the vicious light, embracing everything around us, the weapons of dust and us, everything enveloped in that beautiful sense of calm. What is this? A spell. It'll give us more time to prepare. Catch. The rat threw a bundle of clothes at me, a bunch of gray pet swags. They hit me. They hit my face and chest before I could react. I gave them a little sniff. My nose didn't like what it found, and I agreed with it. Put them on. How come they didn't fly slowly? What? The clothes. You threw them at me, and they didn't slow down. I threw this little thing in the air earlier, and it took it all this time to make it finally reach the floor. Yeah, but I took the clothes out of the seal. So, they had my bonnet on it. And that matters? Yes, it does. Now shut up and try the clothes. I have to mix up my medicine. Okay? I was just curious. I gave the rat a sleeper's hurt glance to see if I could recognize any traces of guilt in his mind, but he didn't even look back at me. He was already back to messing with his magic hole. I started trying the clothes on, just like he wanted, despite the unpleasant scent of something that hadn't seen a perfume soap in weeks to help my breath and didn't dare to complain. Unfortunately, the clothes didn't fit me. These sleeves are dangling down to my knees. Look. Yeah, I can see that. Take them off. Also, you didn't give me shoes. Can't see me wearing shoes. No, but normal people don't wear shoes. We had hard pads on our feet for a reason. Mine aren't hard. It's going to be difficult for me to walk too long in only stockings. No. Take your socks off too. And bloody hell, how many extra shirts are you still wearing? 1, 2, and I also have a very nice tight wrap around my waist to whatever. Keep them on. Nobody's going to see them. But those socks need to go. I passed in the smelly clothes and my lavender scented stockings. My feet felt extremely sensitive on the cold walk floor, so I sat down, crossing my legs. Don't sit down yet. Here. He pushed a small wooden bowl towards me. It was filled with thick, gray goop, faintly smelling of ass. Put it on my wound. I can't reach there, between my shoulder blades. Reluctantly, I nodded and followed his order. I scooped some of the ointment on my fingers and approached him from behind. The tear in the clothes was quite long, but it was hard to tell how big or deep the actual wound was. All I could tell was that it soaked the cloth in blood. I shuddered at the sight and scent of blood. Surprising, I know. Like, obviously, I don't get fazed about it now. You know, dealing with blood and death all the time. My two old friends. But at that time, there were still more like extremely creepy strangers to me. Ew, stop whining. It will mask the scent of the blood. Your coat is always drenched in it. I'll take care of that too. Do the wound first. Shuddering in disgust, I scooped even more of the gray goop before finally putting my hand through the cut in the coat, smearing the ass-smelling ointment all over the softness of the wound. I felt it bubbling in contact with exposed flesh. I wanted to stop, but he made sure I got all of it covered thoroughly. Only once it was covered along the whole length, he finally told me to sit back down and wait. The rat sighed in relief, stretching and twisting his back as I sat down before him. While I was working on his back, he got curious about my book. He picked it up and opened it to a random page. He let out a disappointed sigh when he saw the text and illustrations. I was wondering why you were being so protective of it. It was my favorite thing. Then better keep it safe. He tossed it up, making me let go of his back for a moment, but it was too far away to catch it. The pages fluttered in the air as an open book before he fell to the floor, diving into it like a rock tossed into the lake, spreading a few illusory waves until over the rock and disappeared without a trace. That indeed seemed like the safest way to store it. You're done back there. He took the wooden bowl from my hands and dipped it into the floor once again. There was no trace of goop in it anymore. It was filled with clear water instead, and I was told to wash my hands. With his focus on the clothes, the rat folded the sleeves of the rough linen coat while eyeing me, taking my measurements with quick glances. Then with a nod, he brought the textile to the floor, pressed it down with his finger, and as faint sparks simmered at the spot he kept firmly with his claw, he passed the claw forward one small push at a time. Noticed that the parts affected by the light stuck together like if they were sewn from by some magical means. Sure enough, one of the sleeves was perfectly shortened at a length that seemed to fit my size. Oh, that's so cool. Quiet. So cool. What kind of magic is this? Oh, it's just my cell. That's amazing. You can do so many things with it. Yeah, I guess. Clothes threads have relatively simple structure and follow clear patterns, so I dipped them inside my seal just to tangle them a bit. It's nothing special, really. Some of my kids can do that already. You said you have 33 children? Yes, but obviously the younger ones are still playing with rocks, not with seals. Those that could use magic like that too when I get older. Well, you won't. We have our powers. You have yours. Again, seeing how your superiors dress you in monocrystals, I assume they will eventually teach you how to use our holding seal too. Have you ever used empathy? Canine empathy. Oh yes. I also have fun I could connect and pack mentality with long ago. Also, it's not like you hate all canines. Of course not. I don't like you, but some dogs outside the grove can be alright, I guess. Do you have friends from the other species too? Used to, not anymore. Like in New Moon stories? Oh bloody hell, no. Nothing like New Moon. Just, can you be quiet for just a moment? Just 10 fucking seconds. I like working in silence. Okay? So, you have read Peregrination of New Moon, right? Yes, the kids got one somewhere. So I read it for them. I didn't like it. But why not? We have plenty of our own heroes. No need to poison their minds with your cheap propaganda. But New Moon was a friend of the rodent kind too. He brought the people of our nation together just like the first moon before him. Oh please, they make it sound like he was the single most important hero of that era, when we all know he was just one of many. That's the problem with you dogs. You made the worst allies because you believe in unity only if it's you're standing in the center, hogging all the good boy points. I think New Moon was cool. Got nothing on Morris, I'll tell you. Well, I love Morris. At first he seemed rude, but then he taught Noon how to take enemies by surprise and how to use daggers and... Oh my dog, you are exactly like Morris from New Moon's groups. Heh, I wish. You are. And now you can teach me how to be as cool as you are, too. Any sign of a smirk I could see curling up the corners of his mouth suddenly dropped at that remark. The uncomfortable tension silenced me like a slap in the face. After a short pause, I took a breath to follow up on that, but he silenced me again with a sharper discharge of magic from his seal. As we spent more time together, I started to understand him more. With my empathy, there was something uncomfortable inside his chest. Something that, even as an inquisitive child, I was too intimidated to keep coercing out of him with my thoughtless talking. I sat in silence, watching the light bend over the flowing dust. The rat finished the second sleeve. Hey kid, not that I care or anything, but why are you trying to run away? Are you sure this is really the right decision for you? I'm sure. You're wit's pup from an obviously important Lupine clan. There's no dog in the whole kingdom who wouldn't want to swap places with you. That's what he said too. Who? The observer. Your father, a clan leader? No, but also, yeah. I think you could call him something like that, technically. Well, he's not wrong. You should always listen to your elders, even if... But he was wrong. He was a monster. Oh there, puppy. That's not the way to speak about your dad, no matter how much of a piece of wolf shit he may be. I hate him. He's a terrible person. I wish I could bite him again. You bit him? Yes, and I would kill him too if I could. Oh, no, that's enough, bad boy. No, I'm right. I know I am. I went ablaze on him when I bit him. So that means that was... Anyway. Oh, no. That's enough, bad dog. No, I'm right. I know I am. I went ablaze on him when I bit him. So that means that was a good thing, right? I read about it in New Moon stories. Whenever a crystals grow, that's when things turn for the better, and justice triumphs. He grunted, shaking his head and clicking his tongue in annoyance. He took a breath for a reply. But then he just sighed and lowered his stare to the floor with a somber resignation. You do realize that evil people go ablaze too. Ablaze isn't about being good or evil, right or wrong. It's only about following one's truth, whatever it is. Then again, what the hell do I know? Everyone has their own definition of what a blaze is, and everyone speaks about it like they know for sure. Fools, all of us. A fickle thing, the truth, a blaze like everything else in this blasted life. I still don't regret biting the observer. Then that's your choice, I don't care. Frankly, I'll be laughing at the thought of some lupine snob catching the fangs of a spoiled runt. But that's the thing, pup. He asked if I hate all canines, and no, I don't. But I definitely hate all you wolves. Everyone does, even your own people. Talk to normal dogs outside the grove, anyone other than your snob buddies, and you'll see what they really think of you. Maybe then you will finally understand you're still stuck with your own kind. But by that time, it may already be too late for you to return. Too late to take back what you said or did. Think about it. If there really isn't any love among you wolves, then what stops them from picking literally any other newborn to fill your spot, huh? Make sure you really know what you're gambling with before you ruin your life beyond repair. You won't find love for your kind outside of your clan. I guarantee you that. Right now, at least you're among your own. It's not like they're not taking care of you. What else could you ask for? I stared at him with my mouth open, trying to come up with a rebuttal, but in the end, I just looked down and stayed quiet. Some of that was true. I didn't know anything about the world beyond the Crimson Royal Grove. My interactions with other people were always twisted because of my status. I wanted to run away because I wanted to be free to explore the truths of the world. But what if I wouldn't like that? But what if I wouldn't like what I find there? Was that really what awaited me outside? Hated for who I was? Would you like to take my place? Huh? What do you mean? I'm a rat. But if you could be a wolf, would you want my life instead of yours? In riches and luxury, oh kid. The smirk returned in full force with a flash of yellow teeth. I could feel a jolt of joy flipping through his mind as his imagination sold him a glimpse of that life. So the observer's words were true. Everyone dreamed of a life like mine. The pleasant warmth enveloped the rat's thoughts for mere suggestion of being in my place. He wanted my life. He wanted it. But then the spark of joy blinked out, leaving a streak of cold void in his mindscape, a cold of some sort. It connected to other feelings and sentiments beyond my grasp. He was thinking, remembering. His one eye studied me. He wore a cold expression. I tried to decipher his feelings, but they didn't feel like any of the patterns I would expect. Nothing close to jealousy or anger. But then it hit me. I felt his emotion even before he himself realized it. At a conscious level, it influenced my own guilt. In our very different ways, with very different reasons, we both felt it. However, the moment he realized we stared at each other, he shook his head defensively and swept away any connection between us with a wave of frustration. He proceeded to work on my trousers. I would never fall so low. See? There's just the worst. Shut up. Okay? And it's you who is the worst. All of you. Not them. You're all the same. Okay? But you, maybe. Never mind. You didn't joke about going to Blaze, did you? No, it happened. But you didn't craft the ember, right? What's an ember? It's a sort of a magic spell if you want to be simple about it. Like what you did just now in the room? Oh no, this here, that's just a lesser art. Any rodent with enough skill and magic could use it. You sound like you know a lot about magic. I know a bit, yeah. Teach me, huh? About magic, I want to know more. Yeah, for such a smart-ass, over-educated pup, if you still lack some of the most elemental vocabulary, huh? What? That's not true. My vocabulary is perfect. Okay, then maybe nobody has ever taught you manners. Wrong again. I have been taught royal etiquette ever since I could speak. It comes as easy as breathing to me. You really don't know what I'm talking about. No. Then, okay, then there may be one thing I could be willing to teach you. I assume you have a slave or two, and you're used to having them cater to your every whim. No questions asked, but that's not how the real world works. I'm not your slave, and if you want something from me, you do it properly. You show humility and respect. I have a pretty good memory, kid, and I already noticed that one interesting pattern with you. Through the whole night, never ever at any point, not even once have you said, please. Alon never said please or thank you. Or I'm sorry. Oh yeah, come to think of it, through all the months I've known you, I can't remember a single instance of you saying any of those words. Also, Alon, you never addressed me by my name, species, or even by a nickname. It's always just straight you when talking to me. Shut up. You're getting us sidetracked. How about please shut up? How would that be any better? You're right, not at all. Please continue. Right. So, as I was saying, by the way, I love the way you tell your story and all the voices you do. of course, to the rat. It's like I'm there myself. You're very talented, Alon. And such a nice guy. Okay, I see what you're trying to do, and I don't like it. Maybe stop trying to make Alon say thank you. He has a condition of some sort. No, I'm certain he is just embarrassed or allergic. I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you making such a big deal out of words? I'm very polite when it counts. Even the three arbitrary phrases you're speaking of. I said them all out loud with full sincerity to my rodent companion. He hummed and nodded in approval. As I proved to him I wasn't as proud as he took me for. My heart bounced with joy when he brought one of his claws to the floor and pressed it into the rock, spewing magic sparks around his finger. Alright, so we'll continue with the update next time. So the rat uses mana, I believe. He uses mana to conceal themselves in this little room to hide from the guards. So while they were in here, this little closet, they talked about themselves a little bit. You know, the rat clearly has he's very much resentful against wolves, and he doesn't have a problem with like canines, wolves, like as far as the various dog breeds, he doesn't have a problem with them, but it's the wolves that he has a problem with. And he tells Alon, this young Alon here, why he wanted to leave his life. Like, you're rich, you're royalty. Why would he want to leave that kind of life? And then Alon tells the rat that he wouldn't want him to be like him. He wouldn't want to live the life he lives. And the rat is wondering why not. And Alon talks about the fact that there's somebody else wanting the kingdom but not him. And so apparently the rat didn't know anything about that. He thought everything was run by wolves, and to a certain extent that still is the case, but there's a human that's wanting the kingdom, though I don't think Alon mentioned that he was a human yet. He just said that the person wanting the kingdom from behind the scenes was a non-canine. So and he believes that that Alon himself may not be the same person eventually. He'll probably change, and he won't even notice it, that he's not the same. He won't be the same person growing up that he is right at this point as a child. And he says he's never going to change, but that's turned out not to be true. I mean, the adult version of Alon himself, he's certainly not what he was as a child. I mean, he's certainly not quite as nice. And so he's not as nice as he was when he was a kid. And so we'll continue this update next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Bye.